Today, we're going to talk about a book that is an absolute game changer for anyone in the markets, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. And its core idea is, well, it's simple, but it's incredibly deep. It argues that being a consistently successful trader isn't about finding some holy grail system, it's about completely rewiring your brain.
Okay, let's just kick things off with a statistic you've probably heard a million times, but I want you to really let it sink in. They say that 95% of traders fail. 95%. I mean, think about that. In any other profession, that failure rate would be considered an absolute catastrophe.
And this brings us to the big mystery the book tries to solve. You see people who are brilliant in their own field. We're talking doctors, lawyers, business owners, people who are super successful, and they jump into trading and just get completely demolished. So the big question is, why? What's going on here?
Well, the answer is kind of shocking and honestly a little tough to swallow. It turns out that the very skills that make you successful everywhere else in your life, those become your absolute biggest weaknesses when you start to trade.
I mean, just think about it for a second. In your job, in school, what gets you ahead? Working hard, analyzing things deeply, and of course, being right. But Mark Douglas makes this killer point. The market is a completely different animal. It's an environment of pure, unfiltered probability. It doesn't care how smart you are or how many hours you put in. Using those old skills here is like trying to use a hammer to bake a cake. You've just got the wrong tool for the job.
To really get this, it helps to see how our thinking about trading has evolved over time. For ages, it was all about fundamental analysis, digging into spreadsheets to figure out what a company should be worth. Then came technical analysis, which was a huge step forward, looking for repeatable patterns in the charts. But Douglas argues that the final frontier, the real breakthrough, is mental analysis. It's about understanding your own psychology. Because you can have the most beautiful chart in the world, but your own mind can, and probably will, find a way to sabotage you. That's the real battlefield.
So, if our own mind is the problem, what exactly are we fighting against? Well, Douglas points out 4 huge mental traps that pretty much every struggling trader falls right into. And just being able to see them is the first massive step to getting past them.
The first one is a biggie, not taking total responsibility. It's just so easy to do, right? To say the market moved against me, or they were hunting my stops. But the hard truth is, the market owes you nothing. Douglas says the real pros accept 100% responsibility for every single outcome. And this isn't about beating yourself up, it's about empowering yourself. It's the only way you can ever really learn and actually get better.
Second, getting addicted to random rewards. Come on, you've done this. You break your rules, you take a wild, impulsive trade, and it turns into a huge winner. That feeling, that rush, it's incredible. It makes you feel like a genius. But what it's really doing is training your brain to act like a gambler at a slot machine, always chasing that unpredictable high. And that makes it nearly impossible to stick to a disciplined, consistent plan.
And this leads right into trap number 3, this deep-down resistance to creating and following rules. A lot of people get into trading for that dream of total freedom. No boss, make your own hours right. But in the market, that desire to do whatever you want whenever you feel like it, it's a recipe for disaster. The great irony is that real lasting freedom in trading actually comes from the structure of your rules, not from the lack of them.
And finally, we've got the trap of external versus internal control. Most of our lives, we learn how to control our environment to get what we want. But you cannot control the market. You can't. You can't wish it or force it to go your way. The only things you can ever control are your own perceptions and your own actions, when you click the buy button and when you click the sell button. That's it. Trying to impose your will on the market is a war you will lose every single time.
So just take a second and be really honest with yourself. Do you ever find yourself just hoping a trade will work out, maybe even praying a little bit? Or do you ever get that flash of rage like the market is personally out to get you? If you do, that's okay. It just means you're experiencing these psychological traps firsthand.
Okay, so if we know the traps, how do we get out of them? Douglas gives us this absolutely brilliant mental model to completely change the game. He says you have to stop thinking like a gambler on the casino floor and start thinking like the casino itself.
Now here's the central paradox that'll blow your mind. A casino makes consistent, predictable money from events that are completely random. A spin of a roulette wheel, the turn of a card. Meanwhile, most traders, using what they think is sophisticated, non-random analysis, get completely random and inconsistent results. So what on earth do the casinos know that most traders don't?
It's all about the mindset. That typical trader is obsessed with the outcome of this one trade they're in right now. They have to be right.
A single loss feels like a huge personal failure. The casino, on the other hand, could not care less about any single spin of the wheel. They know that individual losses are just a cost of doing business. They are completely focused on their small statistical edge, playing out over thousands and thousands of bets. That's what guarantees them a profit over the long run.
So, what does the casino know? It really boils down to 4 core beliefs. 1. Every single event is statistically independent from the last one. If red comes up 10 times in a row, it doesn't make black any more likely on the next spin. 2. The outcome of any single event is, at its core, random. 3. Predictable results only start to show up over a large sample size. And 4, and this is crucial, an edge isn't a crystal ball. It's just a small advantage in probability. The casino's edge is tiny, but when you apply it over millions of bets, it becomes a mathematical certainty.
So what this means is that your real edge isn't just your strategy on a chart, it's in your head. It's about developing a probabilistic mindset that lets you execute your system flawlessly, without fear, without hesitation, and without regret. That is how you get in the zone. And Douglas gives us a way to actually build this mental muscle. First, define your edge with precise objective rules. No, I feel like allowed. Second, before every single trade, you have to fully and completely accept the risk. You have to acknowledge that a loss is just one of the possible outcomes and it says nothing about you. And third, and this is absolutely critical, you have to trade in sample sizes. Don't judge your system on 1 or 2 trades. Judge it over a series of at least 20. This forces you to think in probabilities, not just in single outcomes. Now, the foundation that holds all of this together is training your mind to believe in one really powerful idea. Each moment in the market is unique. The setup you see today might look exactly like the one that lost you money yesterday, but the people driving the price are different, their reasons are different, and so the outcome is completely independent. Why is this so powerful? Because if this moment is truly unique, then what happened on your last trade, win or lose, has absolutely zero bearing on what happens now. It's like it instantly neutralizes the fear from your last loss and the ego from your last win.
Ultimately, it's just like Mark Douglas says, it's all about learning how to think like a trader. The goal isn't to be a perfect fortune teller. It's to develop a mindset that allows you to act in your own best interest consistently, especially when everything feels so uncertain.
And so that just leaves us with one final question to think about. We all have these beliefs baked into us about money, about being right and wrong, about risk. So what belief, maybe about the market or maybe even about yourself, is holding you back from getting the consistent results you're looking for?